What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Sideline Summit. I'm Antonio Perez, joined as always by Danny Code, DCU Penn's finest, Chris Coacher CB, Coacher Boy. Welcome back, Chris. We got another great episode for you guys today. Lots to talk about. We're gonna recap Week 18 just a bit. You know, we had some very unserious football being played as Bailey Zappi started for the Browns, and Joe Milton got some real run and very impressive run at that. We're gonna be talking about a lot of the head coaching openings, whether the Saints and Jets. It's been open basically all year. And then you got guys getting fired today, such as Doug Peterson. Mike Vrabel didn't even make, or not Mike Vrabel, Gerard Mayo didn't even make it till Monday.
Bro, he didn't make it at the press conference.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's one way to fire a guy. And that whole situation is so weird. There's like think pieces about it and whatnot, about how they like wanted to ease someone into getting the job so they didn't have to be the Belichick successor. Regardless, you're still going to have to be that. But anyway, we'll talk about that, and then we're going to be giving out some hardware. The 2024 season is over, so it's time to give out the regular season awards. Of course, we're doing this now so that when the two guys that are up for the award end up not beating Mahomes, we don't think bad about them. Because I'm sure there's at least one of us on the panel that have Lamar. At least one or two of us have Lamar. One or two of us have Josh Allen. So,
the other person might have Joe Burrow.
If you have Joe Burrow and he didn't make the playoffs, that's crazy because I think there's another quarterback in his own class that has a better MVP case than him. That's just my wokeness. But we'll get to that point. But, of course, before we get into any of that, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and then turn on those post notifications so you don't miss a single episode. And then if you're listening on audio, all the usuals, leave a like, download if you enjoy, follow the show, all the good stuff. Can't get started, though, unless we go to Danny for Summits and Plummets.
Yeah, I'm going to go my summit of the week. It's going to be those Pittsburgh Steelers right up there I'm going to the game. Steelers-Ravens. My first playoff game, not of any sport, but of the Pittsburgh for a football game. So super, super excited to go to my first NFL playoff game. I've been to an NBA playoff game. Vibes are awesome. Been at MLB playoff game. So really excited.
You've never been in enemy territory.
I've been to Ravens Stadium in the Week 18 meaningless game. But, I actually was talking about this. I've seen the Steelers and Ravens play. This is going to be my fourth time in the last 3 years. I went twice 2 years ago, Steelers and in Baltimore. Last year, I went Week 18 in Baltimore 3 weeks after my ACL surgery. Now this is my fourth time. And this is my first time seeing Lamar Jackson play.
That's pretty crazy. That is pretty crazy.
So, yeah, I'm excited to see Lamar play. It's like, dude, it's every time I go to a big game, I always miss out on the star player. Went to Lakers Bucks Friday night in LA. LeBron is sitting out.
D'Lo masterclass, though.
D'Lo masterclass, but like, why are the star players ducking me? Like, I'm just trying to watch you play.
Is LeBron and Lamar, are they ducking you? Maybe.
LeBron's gonna tweet out Johnny next. You know it. It's coming soon.
LeBron tweets out Johnny. He's got another 10 years in him. Because that made Lamar go on an MVP run. Like, what do you think that's going to do for LeBron?
Yo, what word should Lamar tweet out right now to start his playoff MVP run?
He should do the April one, where it's like April's mom has. It's the same thing as the Johnny one, but then the girl's name is April. He tweets out April, bang.
Playoff MVP run.
Exactly.
But I do think this sets up for a very unique playoff run for the Ravens, as if the Ravens win, they would get the lowest seed remaining. They wouldn't get the lowest seed remaining, meaning if the Ravens would get the Bills, and then they'd get the Chiefs, which they basically get to go division rival, playoff rival in the Bills if the Bills beat the Broncos, which they should. And then they'd have to go probably against the Chiefs or Chargers in Baltimore. So
it'll be it's going to be a run regardless of the Ravens probably have the hardest path of assuming. Well, yeah, because the Chargers get the Texans in round one. I can't really say them. But if the Chargers were to manage to win a road playoff game in round one, beat Mahomes in Kansas City, and then beat either Jackson or Allen to get to the Super Bowl, I mean, like, yeah, I'm going to have some thoughts about Herbert.
I will say,
yeah.
I want to make note. This is the first time that the NFL playoffs have felt like there isn't a clear cut. Wow. Like the last couple of years, it's been Chiefs, Eagles, Niners, maybe sneak in another team like with a chance, but like you haven't really paid much. The Ravens had some attention last year, but like no one really thought the Ravens were going to go make a run from the jump last year. Everyone thought
the way they looked in December, it was definitely plausible. Not me though. Yeah, the Chiefs are still, I think, on just another level, and they're heating up at the right time.
Yeah,
more on that later though.
On that later, Plummet. It's going to be that no Plummet.
Bang.
All summits.
In a world where your quarterbacks suck and you still can't let it ruin your day, man.
I can't complain. I think Arthur Smith, like he's getting head coach attention for whatever reason. He's not going to go though. No one's hiring him.
So is Rex Ryan and Bobby Slowick. So
yeah, but yeah, I'm happy. I think Fields could get some reps in this game. They're going to use him. They're going to break out every single play possible. Hoping for a snow game. That would be awesome. I don't care. I don't care if it ruins the play calling. Just that would be so fun.
I don't know if you're ready for Lamar Jackson putting up the Shady McCoy game on your head, but
be fine by me, man.
97 passing yards, 215 rushing yards.
Go out there and have some fun. All I gotta say is, please, Derrick Henry, save me from the graces of God.
We can move on to the said Ravens fan for the next one.
He's got to have infinite amounts of summits coming his way.
Yeah, he watched nonchalant Shea Gilgeous-Alexander in a basketball game.
But and speaking of that, bro, the Oklahoma City has one of the coolest arenas.
Yes.
And I learned from my Uber driver that, and because he pointed out to us, they're building one next to it. So like,
for what?
Anybody who hasn't been to OKC, like they're building like a new arena. It's like the Paycom Center is like on this big piece of like just circle land, and there's like another building right there. Other buildings way bigger. The dude said that they're rebuilding a new one, getting a new one. But Paycom
Oklahoma City too.
Yeah, I have no clue, but it looks really cool in there. It's like if you've been to a college game, it kind of reminds you of that. It's like bowl sitting almost. So it feels like no matter where you are, unless you're like sitting all the way up in heaven, like it feels like you're super close. And then they do like a lot of stuff during the game. Like you get a bunch of free T-shirts and like just they gave out the little clappers. They gave out like 5 things. Like every intermission, it was something going on. And it was some guy dressed like the leader of Queen, just singing music. Freddie Mercury, I don't know why I couldn't think his name. Just singing different Queen songs every intermission. Started with Bohemian Rhapsody, then he went to the We Will Rock You. It was elite. And I got to see my boy Shayvonte Gilgeous-Alexander put up a 40 ball against that fraud. Anthony, just kidding. Rudy Gobert is not an NBA basketball player. Neither is his friend Julius Randle. And I've seen it in person. And unfortunately, even though I like Jay McDaniels, he is not an offensive NBA basketball player either.
Offensive.
No, he's not
offensive specialist.
Specialist in the 90s, Jay McDaniels guy.
It's just so hilarious that Julius Randle, like, what a nickname. Dubious handle.
Elite.
It fits so well. I got to find something for Jaylen Brown because that is perfect.
Yeah,
dubious handle. That's Jalen Williams was giving him hell, and rightfully so because he's way better. Yeah, the Wolves have looked gross. I don't even want to say Anthony Edwards has looked gross because it's just like
he's trying to play a whole different style.
He's kind of real when he was like, I'm 23. Like, I'm not trying to pass the rock, but it's just like, it's what I got to do. I'm like, no, I respect the realness, but you probably shouldn't say that.
it's different when Jason Tatum's passing it to Derek White and Jaylen Brown. And if they have an off day, it's like, all right, they're still good players. I don't want to, no offense, Mike Conley, elite player as long as he's just old now. I don't want to kick out to Minot, Josh Minot.
Yeah, it's like and Conley can shoot. It's just like that's the only guy that can shoot. It's my only option.
There you go.
So,
yeah. So that's my first summit. That's my first summit. My other summit is that I have a playoff game tonight, which I've been waiting to play for like 4 weeks now. It kept getting pushed back because of just stuff like holidays first, and then it was pushed back because of remodeling for that. So excited about that. Now I do have a plummet. You'd be surprised. I do have a plummet, and it's a small plummet. It's first world problems, but so we run the car off Turo. We're supposed to get a Mazda truck. The guy texted us the day before, maybe like 10 p.m. We're supposed to go pick up the car at 11 a.m. next day. He texted us and said, mind you, it's a text. I don't know how it sounds. He was like, oh, yeah, we don't have the Mazda you had. It has a crack in the windshield now. So can you pick one of the other 4 cars I have? So we pick a car. He tells us, oh, yeah, these will be an upcharge. I said, upcharge when your windshield broke? Okay, cool. Then he says, I can give you this car at the same price. Mind you, Mazda truck, y'all. Mazda truck. That's what we had. The car I end up driving to Oklahoma City is a Chevrolet Spark. Now, anybody who's not ever heard of a Chevrolet Spark, I want y'all to think of a Charger Cube, right? And then you enlarge that Charger Cube with the purple crayon. You put wheels on it and a radio in it. That's what I drove to Oklahoma City. Mind you, I put the pedal all the way to the metal, down to the floor, because I was trying to get away from this big semi-truck driver. It took probably 12 seconds to get to 70 miles an hour or something. There's that.
On a truck?
No, brother. It looked, Danny, I know you're close to your computer. Type in Chevrolet Spark, if you will. That's what I drove. So yeah, everybody at home, y'all listening, take 15 seconds out your day and type in Chevrolet Spark in Google. And if it
oh my God, no way they gave you a little mini car, bro.
That's what I'm saying. It was a Charger Cube with wheels and a radio. I swear to God.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
That's what it was. But that's it. That's
not even a Charger cube, bro. That's like the 5 below charging cube.
That's what I'm saying. It was so small, bro. That's pretty crazy. I put my stuff in. I put our 2 bags in the back. I'm like, well, good thing we didn't want to bring a lot of stuff because that's all the trunk space right there. That's it. So a duffel bag and a book bag. That's all it fit in there.
It ain't bad. Summit is
Anything good in your life happened recently?
Something that really stands out. I'm not sure.
Man, your Eagles are the 2 seed in the NFC.
Nothing to smile about.
Be happy.
Oh, no. This is a pretty good summit. Nick Sirianni dodged the question if a reporter basically asked him, would you consider making Tanner the backup and making Kenny Pickett the emergency 3rd-string QB? And he dodged it. He was like, we're just lucky to have 2 good backups behind Jalen. All right, man.
Dude, do you know what they're unlucky for? Jalen Hurts is still in concussion protocol.
I'm going to take that with a grain of salt. I think he's going to be fine. Look, if we tried out Tanner McKee for the playoff game, but the season's doomed, and Frankie Louvu can, go to unsafe places like FedEx Field. But yeah. No, I take that with a grain of salt, though. I think it's going to be fine.
Yeah, like what's the last time a quarterback took 4 weeks to recover from concussion?
Yeah, he went through the walkthrough on the Saturday before the game. I don't know if he's just trolling, and he's not passing tests.
Is he not smart enough to pass the test? Like
they're like, Jalen, how many fingers am I holding up? He's like he's like the fingers you're holding up can be subjective. Like they just sound crazy like that. Plummet though, my favorite basketball player will never win an MVP because he's not allowed to stat pad. So that's pretty brutal. He also got his layup glassed by Shea.
Blocked by James. Oh.
Blocked by Shea. Dude, he glassed it. It was beautiful. And then Shea went on the other end, threw a lob to Isaiah Hartenstein, who dunked all over Derek White. And Derek White got so salty.
On every single episode, you will see me wearing some kind of hat, whether it's a snapback, whether it's a dad-style hat. I always got to have something to complete the outfit. And the only place where I get my hats is lids.com. Lids.com has so many different brands, and of course they have a bunch of different styles. Like I just said, it could be dad hat, snapback, it could be fitted, it could be Velcro back. Whatever you want, they got it. And with the NFL season coming up, I know you're going to want to rock and represent your favorite squad. Me personally, I'm a big Eagles guy, and I love this 47 brand throwback hat that I got from Lids.com. Or if you're more of a snapback guy, I also got this NBA champions Boston Celtics new era cap from Lids.com as well. If you like either of those hats and you feel like you want one to represent your squad, click the link in the description below. Whether it's New Era or 47, both links will take you right to Lids.com. And the best thing about Lids, they always have some type of deal going on their website. So make sure you click that link and check out any deals they got going on at Lids.com.
But yeah, that's pretty much it from me. We can go to the Week 18 recap.
Start off with the Saturday games, the early games, no Thursday night football.
Yeah.
Quick and easy. Ravens played the Browns early Saturday. They did not look great to start. The Browns were gutty, keeping it close. We saw the Ravens come out in the fourth quarter and say, no more.
Yeah. Big Derrick Henry day. Lamar found the end zone, or found a couple guys for the end zone. Browns are unserious, as per usual, when you're going to trot out Bailey Zappi.
You know what, though? For all things considered, their defense is still good. I know if Chris watched the game, like, that defense with a decent offense out there could have beat the Ravens.
In that specific game, maybe. But the Ravens also don't have to pull their starters for a little bit. Then, like, oh my God, you guys have to go back in.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Chris,
and we'll talk, a lot more playoff stuff on Thursday's show.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Danny? I missed it.
Any thoughts on that Ravens Browns game?
Michael Pierce, obviously my new best corner. Put him out there against George Pickens. No, but I think the thing I took away from it, though, the Browns are in trouble, brother. They're in trouble. Not just because of Bailey's Zappi. That's not it. They don't have many good players on their roster that's not on defense, for one. And for two, just as a whole. Yeah, they're in trouble. And I'm not necessarily mad about it. For one, they're in our division and they employ someone that I'm not necessarily a fan of. So, suffer.
Yep. And then moving on to the Sunday night football game, Saturday night football game, I'm sorry, is the Steelers versus the Bengals. Steelers looked awful to start the game. Their run game looks uncoordinated. Russ, I think two things stand out. Russ is not the only problem. Pickens looked atrocious. Pickens actually started winning reps and, like, down the stretch. Russ just missed him on that game-winning drive. Russ missed him. I know we reacted at the bar that was like, oh, like, Pickens, why are you adjusting that way? Russ just underthrew him outside and wide.
I thought that was kind of just a miscommunication. Like, I think he thought
it's a whole
Pickens
shot.
would have turned chest to the sideline, but he actually turned back to the sideline. So,
yeah,
but a miss is a miss, no matter how you slice it.
You can't be missing on 3rd and 10 with 1 to 2 minute drill. Same way that you can't be missing with your 2-minute drill, running, and instead of throwing the ball away or getting out of bounds, you're trying to run somebody over for a 4-yard gain. Like, you're a 13-year vet. You got to be better.
That is true.
So
that is true. The game ultimately, in hindsight, was useless for the Bengals because the Broncos they took care of business, to say the least, against the Kansas City Bleaks.
Yeah. The game was useless, but I think it's an encouraging sign to see the Bengals can win a defensive matchup. Granted, it is against a dysfunctional team that seems to be unraveling, but yeah.
It was so the Chiefs Bengals thing. Bengals fans on Twitter are like losing their minds. They're like, wow, they don't want the Bengals to get into the playoffs that bad. They don't like. Yeah, team that's wrapped up the 1 seed for 3 weeks now is gonna sit some guys.
Does not care what happens. Like,
yeah, and people are like, they were like, wow, this is how bad the Chiefs don't want the Bengals in the playoffs. It's like, yo, if you think what they did was crazy, you should see what the Bengals did to keep the Bengals out of the playoffs. And it was losing to the Patriots in week 1.
Pay your guy.
Yeah.
That all falls back on the Bengals owner. So can't put it on blame on anyone else.
Here I am with a retail job. Dear Bengals owner, get your money up.
No, for real, dude. Take a look.
If you can't meet the NFL salary cap, why do you own an NFL team? I don't really care how much of a fan you are.
Moving to
shout
the Sunday
shout out to Phillies owner. Money isn't real with him.
Moving to the Sunday games, we can. There's not too much to talk about actually, which is kind of funny.
Okay. Well, okay. Let's do this. Let's do this then. Let's pick some of our favorite parts of the day.
I think one of my favorite parts of the day is the Packers losing to the Bears.
Bears broke the streak.
Pretty hilarious, honestly. The fact that the way the Bears celebrated, it looked like they won the Super Bowl.
Dude, Rodgers wasn't kidding when he said, "I still own you." The Packers own them bad. That win means a lot, especially because it's like the Bears were about to give away another game in disaster class fashion. And Mr. Williams operates the game-winning drive.
Yeah.
He'd have like 9 to this point if his defense could hold up. But
I do want to say, like DJ Moore, if they don't keep him or pay him, this team is.
Well, he just got an extension, so he's paid. They just got to keep him.
Yeah, but apparently he wants out. I don't know how true that is, but.
And the source is
Twitter.
Right. Just remember, Twitter isn't a real place. It's not a real place.
Yeah,
people on there will tell you Jason Tatum is bad at basketball. Not a real place.
That's true. But yeah, I did like seeing the Bears win. Jordan Love, what reminds me is the way that teams figured out Jalen Hurts down the stretch last year. It seems the same for Jordan Love. People are running man against the Packers. Christian Watson just got hurt. They don't have their man separators to go win these reps right now. For whatever reason, Dobbs, Reed, they're not winning man reps. They're running man, and Love is. I saw something. The Packers are. Jordan Love is like 3rd in EPA per dropback against zone, and he's like 30th against man.
Yeah, and that could be a him thing. Because most man concepts run a little bit of zone and man because 2 high safeties and things like that. But it also sometimes you just got to fit balls into tight windows because you don't have man separators like you just said. But that's almost like just a downfall of the Packers. Like you take the receiver position serious, but not in the way that it needs to be. No, I don't care if the 4th receiver could be a wide receiver 2 on some other team. That's just who cares. And they lost Christian Watson, so they're going to be heading into Philadelphia with Jaden Reed, Dontavius Wicks, Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave.
Yeah, does not look good.
Exactly. So, I have to say, very happy. Yeah, favorite game or even favorite moment, favorite thing that happened.
Well, I know my favorite game moment thing to happen was Joe Milton. That was my favorite thing.
Oh my god, dude, I love Milton.
He's a beast.
Tone knows I was enamored by him in the pre-draft process.
Bro, he opened up, didn't miss a throw, and I'm not saying he's throwing 50-yard bombs every play, but he just didn't miss. He ran around well. He did a backflip when he scored. I was entertained.
He's so cool.
Right, I was entertained. It was just cool to see. Patriots have had so many stories this year, good, bad, indifferent, whatever the case may be. And that was probably the coolest moment to me from this weekend. Because, I mean, it was a couple games that didn't matter, a couple games that did matter. But that was just the thing that stood out the most to me. Just because I like seeing people when they get the opportunity to finally do something, do it. And he did. He did well. So that was cool to see. And then the last thing I'll say, the most fun thing I seen, Will Levis. If that was his last pass as a Tennessee Titan, boy, oh boy, was that a Will Levis type of pass? Just throw it down there with your eyes closed. Somebody random catches it. This time it's for your team. I think that was probably the 2 things that probably I enjoyed the most. And then the Ravens locking up the AFC North.
Awesome.
Yeah. The thing about Milton, though, I wanted to say is 2 things. One is people can get very reactionary. Like I saw this dude on Twitter who is now dying on the hill that Joe Milton is was better than Drake May as a prospect. He has a higher ceiling than Drake May, and he should be the quarterback for the Patriots going forward. I'm like, okay, dude.
I mean, he might have the highest ceiling out of anyone though. Like he's an athletic.
He does not
freak.
have he does not have a higher ceiling than Drake May.
Dude, he's okay. All I gotta say is, I think there's a case just because his athletic capability is
awesome.
awesome.
And not to step on any nostalgic stones here. One can be Josh Allen and one can be Cam Newton, and I can certainly tell you which football player is better.
Oh, I agree. I agree. He's closer. That May.
Josh Allen is a better football player than Cam Newton.
No, I agree with you 100%.
Cam Newton has the one very, very nice season. Josh Allen has about 3 of those to this point.
And nothing to show for it yet until he gets the here damn MVP right now. Just all I'm saying. Cam Newton, respect Cam Newton's Super Bowl
appearance. We're respecting appearances.
Josh has none of that and no MVP.
That's true. That's fair. Well,
I'm a Cam Newton lover though, so that's different.
No, that's why I was like, I don't want to step on any nostalgic stones, but you know,
I think
that's the point with Milton and May, where it's like, this is the man on the other side of the mirror. Or here's another funny way to look at it. Joe Milton will get the get back for RG3 for what Cousins did to him.
Yeah.
Where the black athletic quarterback takes the white man's job.
But do you like that? That's all Kirk Cousins wanted to know. You like that?
Kirk went crazy when he was 12. He was 12 when I think RG3 was still on the team. When he left, I think he switched to 8.
Yeah, he was the first 12. John Morant learned from Kirk and carried it.
Yep, all his tendencies were learned from Kirk Cousins.
Yep,
hyper athleticism,
gunslinger mentality.
Exactly,
dude. I do want to say, I think Milton could be a really decent trade piece in this draft. I think teams like the Seahawks, like the Steelers, teams that have uncertain quarterback futures that might want to take a risk on a younger guy that probably won't cost you too much draft capital, that you saw a good film from him out of Tennessee. They just didn't like his visionary process. Granted, they were playing the Bills twos, but I think he does have the tools to become that. He reminds me of the Anthony Richardson level of prospect, yet he was drafted in like the 6th round.
I could see that.
I was going to actually.
Richardson obviously has more athletic upside, but
for sure. But he's that like freak
can't
athlete.
Throw a stone in the ocean, man.
He's the freak athlete type of player that can do things that he had a 12-second time to throw in his first career game.
Yeah, and that had nothing to do with the line.
It was him running around, making a play, and then throwing a 50-yard touchdown.
Did a fine job against the Bills twos. So
yeah, and they threw a 50-yard touchdown on that play.
I do want to ask though, I remember I was seeing this too about JJ McCarthy. Like, do y'all think that teams really will do that? Not saying for Joe Milton, but just in general, like a McCarthy type of guy who hadn't played. Seems like the Vikings might be good with Darnold, may not be. Like, you never know. You think they'd probably go out, like teams would go after McCarthy? I've been seeing that. I think Orlovsky said it, that McCarthy would be QB1 in this draft if he was
not QB1.
I think
so. That's what I said. Orlovsky said that he'd be QB1. So I'm just wondering, do y'all think people will try to go and get McCarthy, one of those top teams like the Browns, Giants, or who
it's something to look at. I just feel like the Vikings won't let go of McCarthy because, as confident as I am in Sam Darnold, one game like last night can change your entire trajectory on him. It's like, oh, you're just going to revert back to what you were. And of course, if you keep him with Kevin O'Connell, yeah, Sam Darnold can eventually be something. I don't know. It's kind of. I just don't think the Vikings would. But if the Vikings did, yeah, I think there would be calls for JJ McCarthy. You would be essentially. He would be easily in the quarterback one argument in this class, and I think maybe if you're arguing upside, maybe you could go Ward. For what he brings to the table, I think he's just better than both of them. But
all I say is, who's to say that the New York Giants won't go out there and say, Sam Darnold, I'm going to give you a bag. Daniel Jones.
That will go as good as it sounds.
No, I understand, but then they'd go and draft Tet or Travis Hunter and pair
Well,
it with
Sam
Malik
Darnold,
Neighbors.
Sam Darnold with Brian Dable would not be horrible. I don't think that's the end of the world.
I agree.
He's not your
think
savior though. You do have Malik Neighbors, so you do have one of those freak one-of-ones that Sam Darnold can rely on.
I think my point would be
beast.
If you did that, you either get Tet, Travis Hunter, or Will Johnson.
Well, if they get Sam Darnold, I think Will Johnson would be the guy. Because Malik Neighbors is your freak wide receiver 1. Why do you need another freak wide receiver 1?
Why not?
Because this isn't like it's not like the Penei Sewell, Jamar Chase thing. Because T was fine, but at that point it was like, can T be a wide receiver 1? I mean, hindsight now we know that. But Malik Neighbors is a franchise guy, wide receiver 1, going to be a top 5 guy.
He may be quarterback proof too. Jesus.
He is in year 1. He's quarterback proof because 110 receptions between Daniel Jones, Drew Lock, and Tommy DeVito, and he missed 2 games. The
kid's special.
Is there an LSU receiver who isn't quarterback proof at this rate?
Yeah.
No.
Brian Thomas Jr. is quarterback proof.
I think you're forgetting about Panthers legend.
Terrence Marshall don't count.
We don't count Terrence Marshall.
He wide receiver proof.
He tricked me. I ain't gonna lie. He tricked me.
He wide receiver proof.
Maybe I was just
and
too.
Kyron Lacey soon.
Yeah.
He's
Kyron Lacey.
He's on
That's
the
my
way.
boy.
Blowing
You
up.
are Pittsburgh Steeler.
Him and George Pickens about to blow up the sky together.
Just like
It's
Bane.
just crazy that like Kyron Lacey isn't, at least from what I've seen, he doesn't really have like any temper issues that like Pickens has with like trying to fight other players. It's just like he loves a good
Squabble.
Like he loves a good like celebration that will definitely get you 15 yards in the NFL.
That's my type of guy.
Yo, the craziest thing,
and he's gonna bring the craziest celebrations to the league. I can't wait.
Craziest
like
thing that everyone's doing
celebrations, real LSU stuff.
Pulling up their shirt like they got a gun. Like, why are you doing that in college, dude? Like,
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, it could be could be worse, but
it'd be better if you're DB, like you got the strap on you. Pull it up.
He could.
Yeah,
he could took his jersey off and ran off the field. At least he didn't do that.
Antonio Brown.
Yeah, I guess that's another thing we could talk about from this week 18. Dolphins lose.
Yes.
Tyreek Hill goes to the locker room and essentially says, "I'm out." Not essentially. That's what he said. I am out.
Well, he's a Chief, so
He still got to do his best.
Could you imagine if he played with Patrick Mahomes?
That would be crazy, huh?
But I mean, just what
I have
are
a photo-
some
I have a
realistic
Photoshop ready.
landing spots for Tyreek Hill?
He's a Charger.
Right.
Remember, I said it. He's a Charger.
Look, enough of the hypotheticals. When people keep talking about if Herbert had Tyreek Hill, no, let's find out.
That's what I'm saying. He's a Charger. Please.
Enough of the hypotheticals. I need to see it.
I think I know a team that Chris would like is probably the Ravens.
Yeah, but we already
Of
got
course,
Zay.
that
He's
would-
already small. We can't do
Tyreek Hill would get to
Baltimore.
Baltimore and find a way to become like absolutely washed.
It would make me cry tears. Now Devontae
Yo,
Adams,
And then some people would just be like, you know what? Every time a good receiver comes to Baltimore, they become bad. Mind you, they're already washed by the time they get there. So it's like, is this Odell's fault?
Bro, I told y'all a year ago, we get players a year late. Now Derrick Henry, thank you, his body is
The
still
exception.
25 years old sometimes. But every other player we get a year late and they hate being there. Odell Beckham got there a year late. Only caught 4 passes that I remember. Was a Miami Dolphin.
I saw the nastiest thing. They were comparing Allen, Burrow, and Jackson's like Pro Bowl teammates. Bro, they was including like Odell.
I know they were.
Bowls,
I know they
Derrick
were.
Henry Pro Bowls. Oh wait, bro, Derrick Henry's cracked 1 Pro Bowl since he's got here. But what was one of my favorite moments from? I mean, that Tyreek Hill one really might be the one. Like that is crazy.
He
And
looks
his
so
profile
irritated.
picture on Twitter is even crazier. He
What'd he change
photoshopped his head onto the Antonio Brown thing where he took off his jersey and dipped. I mean, you didn't do it mid-game, so you're not built like AB. You didn't do it mid-game, but I still respect the boldness to just flat out say that. He was like, Miami's cool. It was a good time, but I got to go win.
Yo,
And
what are
that's
your
what playing
thoughts-
with Tua will do to a guy. So
What are your thoughts on Tyreek Hill to the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Cowboys, or the Las Vegas Raiders.
Cowboys
interests me.
Cowboys would be so nasty.
That interests me. Yeah, Cowboys interest
Him
me.
and
a lot.
Hill, that'd be nasty.
Him and CD. Ooh wee.
Yeah,
Him and Lamb. I said him and Hill.
I know what you meant. That's
I
interesting.
had Lamb in my head.
So
I'm interested.
that's an interesting spot for me. To me, another interesting spot is the Patriots. The Patriots were to go out there and pay a guy like T. Higgins and be like, yo, Tyreek Hill, slide up.
Offensive loan, depending on who they get as a coach, I think they could be like a serious playoff contender.
Chris, I'll tell you, the Patriots have $120 million in cap space.
I know
they can pay anybody.
Going to T. Higgins. I know.
Now, granted, what I think they'll probably do, though, the Patriots, they'll probably take the Panthers route. Last year, they spent, I think, a good $90 million on the offensive line. And while it took a little while for whatever reason for it to work out, it eventually did. In the back half of this year, they looked great protecting Bryce. Run game was strong. They made Miles Sanders look good yesterday. Take that for what you will.
He was wedging Miles Sanders, by the way.
Well, yeah, the Panthers just put up 44 points in an overtime victory against the Falcons.
Yeah. So the offensive line investment, I think, is the way the Patriots should go.
I do think
Raymondre is good enough.
Now they're drafting Ashton Genty trading back up to get Ashton Genty.
While we're on the topic of the Patriots, we might as well move on to the next topic here.
Speaking of Ben Johnson,
we let's just get right into these coaching hires.
What I want to do is the way I want to do this. I want to go. We all gave most likely hire, and then we all debate who we think should be hired. I'll start it off.
That's fair. For the 5 openings, though, I don't have a repeat. I just do have 5 different guys.
That's fine.
We can start with the Patriots, though, since we're on the topic.
I like them to hire Ben Johnson. I think his connection going to UNC, and it's just perfect fit with Drake May. I think he's apparently been enamored by Drake May. Having the ability to come in and kind of overhaul a team and have all the tools. Other than that, I do like Vrabel. I think it comes down to him and Vrabel, in my opinion. And Patriots just saw what went down, hiring an ex-player and letting him run. So, that's it.
I think you're comparing complete apples to oranges by saying the ex-player thing.
They are completely different.
If you also want to talk connections, Vrabel played for New England.
That's what I'm saying. Ex-player for New England is what I'm saying. Both played.
Yeah, but you just said, I like the connection. Ben Johnson went to UNC. That's like you saying you could call Elon Musk because he went to UPenn. Vrabel was there. He knows the crafts. He's played for Bill Belichick.
I understand that.
And the crafts and all that. So he would definitely win the connections department.
I understand connections with the crafts. I think the Patriots just may be looking for a different direction.
That's fair. I mean, Ben Johnson, he would be my next guy up.
He is like Sean McVay coming open on he's a Kevin O'Connell hire. He's a Sean McVay hire. He is a type of guy that if he's on the open market for a head coach job, you go and try to sign him with every asset possible. That's all my point is.
Well, I disagree because I think Vrabel will be their guy. Guy who's been in the building, a proven perennial playoff. He the only reason why it never worked out in Tennessee is just because he couldn't find the quarterback. Ryan Tannehill was cool for a little bit, revived his career, but it was never going to work because he never had a guy who he could rely on his arm to get him to where they wanted to be. They're in back-to-back conference championship, or 2 times in the last 3 years, conference championship games. If Ryan Tannehill doesn't throw 4 interceptions against the Bengals, the game was won. They had the game in their hands, and he should have never been fired, but I understand why things happened. The band was breaking up, and it was kind of like we just want to go in a new direction.
I do think he's a big culture guy. I think he's
like where you're talking about a Sean McVay, a Kevin O'Connell, but with Mike Vrabel. First of all, Mike Vrabel is not his own prototype, but we've seen how he gets down before. But even so, if you need examples, D'Amico Ryans, Jim Harbaugh, these are guys that who are reviving the big CEO style of coaching, where it's just like you just need to have a guy you want to play for. Mike Vrabel, football knowledge, great head coach aside, that's just someone that I think the Patriot way will get down with.
Yeah, Chris.
Well, I guess now we have one on each side. Chris, who are you thinking for the Patriots head coaching vacancy?
I got one name, and I hate that Jerome Hill got fired first year. Maybe I'm too green to it, but I don't think he had a real fair shake.
Not at all. You should have just kept.
I can
Bill.
agree. I can agree. I don't think he got a fair shake, but I think when there's better options on the table, it might not even come down to him doing a bad job. It's just like, oh well, we know what's coming.
People they like more. Yeah, and I think for that reason alone, I think you don't fire Jerome Hill unless you bring it in Vrabel. I think Vrabel's like the guy, like their guy. That's my personal opinion, just from what I've seen, what I've heard all throughout the year. Even while Jerome Hill was coaching, like I heard that Vrabel would be a guy. So that would be my thought here. And I have a sleeper, but I won't say it yet because I don't even think it's realistic. But I think actually I'm going to say it because I don't think anybody's going to say everything else.
Yeah, go ahead. Why not? Let it fly. Why not let it fly?
No shot at Pete Carroll.
No. I want Pete Carroll to stay where he is having fun. Rex Ryan, because if anybody else goes to Patriots, not Bill Belichick or Mike Vrabel,
that's the funniest timeline possible, dude.
Rex Ryan looks like a Patriots
this level of timeline if that happened,
bro. He looks like a Patriots coach to me. If you look at one, I know he's coached.
He fits the Belichick Parcells.
He's got the belly
physically.
I can see him right now with a windbreaker on. It just looks Patriots to me. But I think Vrabel's the guy. I think Vrabel's
Rex will be hilarious. Well, let's move on to Rex's former team. Let's go to the Jets, who they fire Robert Saleh. You want to talk about a guy who really did not deserve to be fired? Him. He should still be there, but he's not. So they're looking for a head coach. We'll start with Chris on this one because me and Danny kind of bickered the whole last round. Who do you see the Jets going after?
And why is it Aaron Rodgers to be the coach after he messed up everything as a team? No, I'm kidding.
He's like, no, I'll just have to do it myself.
I'll have to do it myself. The first player coach in NFL history. But in reality, I have a thought process to who I think the Jets will pick, and it's mainly because I think that they're realizing the mistake they made in firing Robert Saleh, defensive-minded guy who had at least the defense doing enough, even when Aaron Rodgers was forgetting how to play football. I'm going to go with Brian Flores. I think he's been passed up enough, and for good reason sometimes, or let go for good reason enough. But that screams Jets, right? Am I right? Am I wrong? A guy good at coaching defense, had a couple issues along the way. Sounds like a New York Jets head coach to me. And I just think, like, if you're going to start with a fresh start, I think Flores is at least going to have the defense on point. And I think that's one thing you're going to have with the uncertainty of, is Garrett Wilson going to ask out? Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers aren't going to be back from what reports we've heard. I think if you're going to start over, you got to start with making sure the defensive side is right. So I'll give Brian Flores the nod for that.
I absolutely agree because you insert Brian Flores with the talent that's on that defense, they're right back to where they were with Robert Saleh. We're talking like first in yards per drive, they were like second in points or yards per game, like a whole bunch of stuff. And then when he leaves, a lot of things start to tumble backwards. But they can manage in some aspects because it's just a talented group on that side. But when you insert Brian Flores and his genius, they're automatically in contention for best defense in the NFL once again. And then from there, you just got to figure out the quarterback. You just got to figure out the quarterback because if Rodgers isn't there, I'm sure Garrett Wilson will stay. You just got to figure out the quarterback. I don't know who that be. I don't even know what pick they have. Maybe they could talk, hey, Sam Darnold, like, we didn't mean to do you bad the first time, bro. And because, Sam Darnold and Brian Flores are together right now, Flores could be like, I might not be too hands-on offense, but I trust Sam. I could bring in a guy that I think is, take this with a grain of salt, but like a guy who coaches like Kevin O'Connell, can draw up a game like Kevin O'Connell. Let me bring that in. That's why I had Flores written down for the Jets, so I absolutely agree. Danny, what were you thinking? I feel like, and part of the Jets just seem like the type of team that need a defensive head coach. Play to the strengths, and we'll figure everything else out from there.
Yeah, I think Flores is the best fit. What do I think the Jets do? I think the Jets go and hire Ron Rivera. It seems very Jet.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
It seems very Jet. I don't hate Ron Rivera. They could go sign Doug Peterson. I do think Peterson finds it taking a year off.
That's the worst timeline. He can come be an Eagles consultant if he wants.
I think he takes a year off. I think an interesting name for whatever reason is Vic Fangio.
I don't think he wants a head
I don't.
coaching job.
He doesn't want a head coaching job for whatever reason. But
He said he
I
wants
think
to, he wants to settle down in the beautiful,
Electric City of Philadelphia.
the absolutely beautiful city of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
No beaches.
Another name not mentioned for the Jets, which I would like, is Mr. Gruden.
Oh God, you would like that?
Yeah, I think it's perfect for the Jets. In order to be the head coach of the New York Jets, I think you have to be an eccentric head coach to be in the New York market, to be in this big market with a bunch of bright lights and all these players and their attitudes, and I think you have to handle it, right? I think Gruden could make some sense.
I think Gruden would probably be the last person I'd want to throw in terms of handling the New York media, because no, he's not going to handle it. He's going to fight them back. Flores would be the perfect example of someone that will probably handle it better.
Yo, Flores first day on the job at Rodgers, he's gonna tell him he's old and washed.
Yeah, no, good. He should. It's all about that mentality, baby.
He's gonna be like, you got to be harder on your. He's like, you absolutely suck, dude.
Yeah, no, and Flores, unironically, Flores, you need that kind of head coach with a guy as stubborn as Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers is hopefully just isn't there.
Yeah, you know what also doesn't make sense to me?
Ball out with a year with Tyrod Taylor. See what happens. Invest in the offensive line this offseason. Garrett Wilson absolutely being force fed this entire year. Tyrod Taylor's going to handle that. We'll figure it out after there.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Brian Flores used to coach for the New England Patriots?
Yeah, he was on Belichick's staff, which that could be another option. That could be an option that's on the table, an absolute defensive mastermind, even though Bill's the one that kind of put Flores on the the trajectory he's on, but like kind of shaking up his career a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. That's all I gotta say.
Because then he got bumped all the way down to like a position coach, no?
Defensive position coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And instead of promoting Brian Flores to defensive coordinator, we promoted Terrell Austin.
Yeah, that's certainly a choice, man. That was a choice. Okay, so we're all kind of thinking Brian Flores should be the guy. Danny thinks it would be really, really funny, though, if it was John Gruden or what was the other one you mentioned? Ron Rivera.
Yeah.
Those would both be pretty funny. Let's keep it in the AFC, and then we can move to the two NFC vacancies. The Jacksonville Jaguars, who, in my opinion, is not as unsexy of a coaching spot as it may seem.
Keeping Trent Baalke, I think it is, as GM.
Sure. Usually, like when a head coach gets fired from a disastrous franchise like the Jaguars, I'd like to see the GM go to. But the GM's here. But I think there's cornerstones you can work with. The edge rushing duo, it's there. Trey Walker, Hines Allen, it's there. Those two are cornerstone pieces to the defense. You have the franchise quarterback who may have had an up and down career to this point, but you've seen the highs. And even this year, in the limited time that he's played, you've still seen the elite throws and the progress that he's making. And on top of all that, you're going to get him back healthy next year, and you absolutely know you have a wide receiver one, a top 10, top 5 maybe ceiling kind of guy, 6'4" guy who can run routes and got yak ability with the rest of them. So everything to me, at least from those two, screams they're going to go offensive guy here. And me personally, I would love to see Joe Brady for the Jaguars. Is that who you had?
Yeah.
See, there we go. We're starting to be on that wavelength.
See,
I think Brady, like he just kind of like pinned this one home when he got his hands on Josh Allen. Josh Allen was starting to unravel a little bit with the way he was turning the ball over. Joe Brady got to him. The turnovers are back down. He's playing a lot cleaner style of football. Not everything has to be a home run. Of course, most of Josh Allen's stats and what he does is his own God-given ability. But Joe Brady, who coached Joe Burrow once upon a time, is just a king at getting a quarterback to be efficient, not turning the ball over, and letting it be known when big plays can be made. I think he gets his hands on a guy like Lawrence, who has had maybe some turnover issues, can get very sloppy with the football, and maybe doesn't want to take his checkdowns all the time. And has like a kind of physical build like the Allen and Herberts of the world. I think that's a match made in heaven, personally.
Well, that spoils my thing.
Well, what were you thinking?
I don't have Joe Brady. I have so I'm thinking Brian Thomas, legend, obviously. Trevor Lawrence, nice hair, obviously. To put those two together to make the Super Saiyan they can be, only one coach can do it. That coach name is Cliff Kingsbury. Because as you've said, at least for half of a season, he can do it on offense. I think that's all Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas will need. Have a season of good football. Rest of their careers, they're locked in as the new Burrow to Chase. But I think in our reality, on Joseph's side, I think just with how good he does with quarterbacks, even if it's not as consistent, I don't think Trevor Lawrence has had that chance yet. So outside of Joe Brady, and I have another pick for him as to why I chose Kingsbury for this one. I think those two are the best picks. Joe Brady probably being the better one, but for the sake of my argument, I put Kingsbury there.
I don't even think Kingsbury is a bad one, but I will say this. Trevor would probably be the first not undersized quarterback Cliff Kingsbury's got his hands on. His last year at USC, he had Caleb Williams, who was like 6'1" on his best day. Not to say Caleb's amazing, of course, so take that with a grain of salt. But Kyler Murray, undersized quarterback who got hurt halfway through the year and then wasn't the same through the rest of the way, which is not. Cliff Kingsbury gets, his teams do bad because he ends up getting predictable, but this year specifically, it didn't work out that way. Even when his quarterback got banged up, they had a little skid, and then they bounced back. They figured it out. So I don't think that's horrible. I just think Lawrence would be something new to him, a taller quarterback, a stallion, I guess you could say, with probably the strongest arm that he's gonna have, that he's ever met to this point. And he can still run like the other guys, and he doesn't really have the injury history of the other two. He kind of had the one shoulder injury this year, which he could have clearly came back from after his trip on IR, but they were like, you know what, let's save that money. So I think that's not bad. That's not bad. I prefer Joe Brady to Kingsbury. And I think they'll kind of provide the same things for Lawrence. Just Brady will do it a little better. But in defense, Kingsbury does have the head coaching experience already. So
I think the reason why I said so, I think y'all will agree with who I have Joe Brady for when we get to that.
Well, jump to whatever team go ahead, Danny.
Another interesting name for the Jaguars is Todd Monken.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't you dare. I will not have it. I'll block it myself. I'll run up there and block it myself.
You lost Mike. You lost Mike Mack and losing your mind.
Oh, if you think that's what we already got rid of Greg Roman and replaced him with Todd Monken. Now you want to take Todd Monken from us, Danny? I knew you're still a fan, but this is another level.
Chris,
this is malarkey.
I think the reality is, like Lamar can call his own plays now.
Yeah, but this is the thing though.
What does Lamar calling his own number all game look like? What does he finish the game with?
10,000 yards.
What? I don't know, bro, because I don't think he likes to run fast. John Harbaugh is one person that'll stop him. He'll stop him. If Lamar calls his own plays going too good, John will be like, we need to close the game in this.
Why does he not age, dude? What are these Harbaughs having their genes? They don't age.
They look the same 20 years ago.
Dude, literally
Harbaugh's more lively than he was 10 years ago. Like that's what coaching Justin Herbert and Lamar Jackson does to you. You age like fine wine now. When you coach those elites, baby. Like Andy Reid, he started coaching Patrick Mahomes, and now he looked like he kind of on Ozempic a little bit.
Yo, they said pretty sad thing. They said Kirby Smart's dad died at the Sugar Bowl. He fell, broke his hip, had to get hip surgery, and he died during hip surgery.
Okay, so it wasn't at the game, but like that's still crazy.
Yeah.
Rip to Papa Smart.
Yeah.
The birth of a goat. Yeah.
Let's we were Yeah, you were talking about Todd Monken. Todd Monken will obviously be another great one. Any offensive-minded guy. It's kind
Yeah,
of think about
Tony.
this. To this
What if they
point, the
take?
location that got the franchise guy need like the CEO or an offensive-minded guy, and then the ones that don't, just get them a defensive guy, and we'll figure it out from there.
Sorry, Tone, but what if they take Kellen Moore from you?
I haven't heard anyone request Kellen Moore for a head coaching spot. I'm sure someone will. I'm not like against it because look, if he gets taken by another team, that means one of these awesome coordinators that we continue to mention may be available and may need to up their stock. And if they can turn Jalen Hurts back into a beast, we'll be good.
I mean,
But
Hurts is playing with the same level of efficiency as he did in 2022. That's all I have to say.
yeah, it just doesn't look as cool.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I don't know. Take it for what you will. Jalen's played fine. He's been a top 10 level quarterback this year. I can't complain. But let's go to the NFC.
Saints.
Let's do Saints first. Okay. Thinking about this position, probably won't take a quarterback this class, at least with the intentions of starting him. Carr most likely won't be back this year. You're probably rolling into a situation where you're in contract jail, where you just keep pushing the contracts down the road. The receiver room, I mean, you have Olave, and it really doesn't get that much better from there. Defense is kind of a bit old. You got some pieces like Breesy, I was really impressed with this year. But that's kind of when knowing that you're coming to this situation, you're going to be coaching a rental. I don't want to say rental, a prove it, like, Spencer Rattler, this is your chance to figure out if you're a quarterback or not. And if it doesn't pan out, most likely the team will be bad and they'll take Arch. So you're either finding a franchise guy now, you're getting a franchise guy now or later. So I'm still thinking offense for this team. Who'd you have written down, Danny?
I have Vance Joseph. I think that the connection between Sean Payton and the Saints ownership might lead them to talking to Sean Payton, saying, "Hey, what do you know about Vance Joseph?" When interviewing, do you think this guy's a good candidate? And I think an ex-friend might help them find a new head coach.
I could see that. Chris, who'd you have written down for New Orleans?
I do want to say, for one, before I even start, Arch Manning, you are New Orleans Saints, whether you want to be or not. The Mannings run New Orleans. They're going to find a way to get you in Louisiana.
Arch to New Orleans, PJ to Chicago.
Chris, I think you forgot the Saints don't know how to tank appropriately. They're going to win 2 games to start the year, and then...
Oh, Danny, doesn't matter. They can win 14 games. The Mannings will find a way to get Arch to Louisiana.
You thought the LeBron SUVs were strong? You've never met the Manning SUVs.
Oh, yeah, Mannings have helicopters, I'm sure. They got big money. But I'll say for the Saints, I don't know. I was in between a few. But I think I'm just going to use a name that pick a name that I've heard a lot. And I think this would be a chance to just kind of get like a fresh start-ish type of job. So I'm going to choose Bobby Sloak for this. Just on the sense of fresh start, kind of like you said, kind of working with at least a rental at quarterback, and probably makeshift at a couple other positions, just because Kamara kind of aging out a little bit if you're going to try to rebuild. And then outside of Olave and maybe Rashid Shaheed, not sure what the receiving room is going to look like. So anybody can get a fresh freshish canvas. I'd give him the opportunity, just because, like I said, his name's been hot over the last few years. I think this is maybe his chance to snag one of the coaching jobs available this year.
So the name I originally had down, again, I was talking about how maybe wanted to be an offensive guy, but then I change it because I'm changing it because I believe in Clint Kubiak, and I want him to stay as the offensive coordinator. I think when that offense was healthy, he was drawing up things that made Derek Carr look like the MVP. So he has a nice bag of tricks. Bobby Slow could be a good one if they wanted to go offensive direction. That might be one of the top names. I would go in a similar direction to Danny. I think Vance Joseph will probably, if I had to give up who I think, maybe Vance Joseph will probably be the one. Sean Payton guy. Sean Payton, he's got connections all over the league. I would say Aaron Glenn. He's been getting head coaching interviews for the past 2 years. He's been doing makeshift things with half the defense on IR. Kirby Joseph, that secondary has balled out under him. Defensive line has still been able to make things happen without Hutch for more than half the season. And you know, the Aaron Glenn, you know, it's another defensive guy. Being a defensive guy, following up a defensive head coach isn't always easy, and it's not always the sexiest thing in the world. But you don't have a proven franchise quarterback. You kind of want to go into this with the idea of being real scrappy and being a makeshift tough team, kind of like how you said, Chris. So I like any of these candidates. I think this is probably the most unpredictable position because it's probably the worst.
Man, they might
Probably
wind
the
up.
most unsexy. Unless you find a guy who was in love with Spencer Rattler before the pre-draft process. So what I'm saying is hire me, actually. And I'm not going to call it offense or defense. I'm just going to be like Jim Harbaugh, but I know a lot less about football.
They might hire like Mike McCarthy or something, like if he gets fired.
That sounds like just a Saints thing, but that's so just like another pick like this, like, you know. But I totally get this is entirely unpredictable. I can see Ron Rivera. Like any guy that's on the board. I think they'll be the last to hire somebody. I'll say that.
Antonio Pierce gets fired. They can see him.
No.
I can see him going there.
Oh no. Well, in the case he does get fired, I don't even know what direction I would want to see them go in without like hurting my head.
Man,
maybe they would get the Glenn or Joseph that's still available. But
the Saints gonna go ahead and sign Arthur Smith. Watch.
Oh man, Spencer Rattler's never getting his career off the ground. Then the last team we have
infinite pitches to Kamara.
Yeah, he's spamming them. Last team we have is debatably the sexiest location of all of these coaching spots at Chicago.
Chris,
franchise quarterback's there. DJ Moore's there. Defense got talent. And with all that being said, I don't think they can go wrong heading in either direction, or offensive guy, defensive guy, or CEO guy, since that's being revived. Chris, who changes the city of Chicago?
Joe Brady. It was the pick y'all had for, and all the reasons that y'all gave. That's why I want Joe Brady as the Bears head coach. I want Caleb Williams to get a fair enough shake. When you're coming in with Wemby, LeBron, Pat Mahomes expectations, like, bro, at least give him the full weaponry. Yes, Mike won a lot of championships. You also have Phil Jackson. Like, at least give him something. Now, I get you give him the position players. I get that part. But from what I've heard, and also what you guys have reiterated today, Joe Brady might be the best, like, just all-around coach available. And he's already had a proven track record of doing well with quarterbacks. And I think this Josh Allen turnaround, I'm not saying Josh Allen was not elite before, because obviously he was. But as you said before, making him play cleaner football, turning over the ball less hero plays, I think that literally would make Caleb Williams this year could have been top 10 quarterback had he done that. Not did the hero ball plays, not held the ball so long, et cetera, et cetera. And I think this would be his ceiling raiser right here. Even though his ceiling's crazy, I think that would be his ceiling raiser right here, being able to link up with Joe Brady and kind of get a rapport going, and kind of, like I said, you build it out from quarterback first, which obviously was kind of what the Bears are doing now. I think that would be a great another great investment into that quarterback. And then this is where the point where you'd be, all right, if Caleb Williams can succeed with this and this, then then those talks I would listen to it. Then I'm like, okay, maybe
you'd have to at that point.
Yeah, until then I have that, and not that. So I think Joe Brady's the best choice for the Bears here.
Danny, who'd you have written down for Chicago?
Who I have written down is the opposite of the Patriot is the Mike Vrabel.
Okay.
So I think whoever doesn't end up in New England ends up in Chicago and vice versa. But if that doesn't happen, what I do want to say is I like two names. And the number one name that I like after that is none other than the former Seattle Seahawks head coach,
Pete Carroll. I don't know if I'd like that for.
And then The other name I do like outside of that is Cliff Kingsbury. I think that he has familiarity with Caleb Williams from college. I know Tone doesn't really like what he did to Caleb in college, but I do think that because of the lack of star power on USC, may I say?
I mean, if he could draw up, something besides a stick route to Brandon Rice for the millionth time, maybe I'd like him a little bit more. But
yeah, I just think I think Vrabel is their best option, though. I know Vrabel. If Vrabel doesn't go to New England, I really hope it's Ben Johnson because, but seeing someone go to their division rivals, just it's like Todd Monken going to the Steelers. Like it would hurt Chris.
But this is what this game's all about. And that's exactly where I have Ben Johnson going.
I know.
He made this work with the least creative quarterback in the NFL. What do you think he's about to do when he gets his hands on probably one of the just like if you were to tap into a quarterback's mind, like Caleb Williams would probably be the top 5 wackiest. He could get something seriously done in Chicago. Funny though, when I had it typed in, for whatever reason, I had to type this Brian Johnson. I'm like, no, do not send him to Caleb. No, I have Ben Johnson though, and for all the reasons I don't have to iterate, kind of the same stuff that I said with Lawrence. Did want to say though, I did want to point out because we're talking about Caleb. Like if we're talking like back half a year 2 when he's still not getting it done with a really good head coach. This reminded me. It's just reminded me that like the Panthers. Never wrong, just early, and Dave Canales was a home run of a hit because he managed to change the trajectory of your starting quarterback's career. Offensive line's figured out. You got some weapons on offense. Definitely going to have to upgrade there, and the defense needs a whole makeover. But you got Bryce Young, you got Dave Canales, you got a strong offensive line. We can work now. Ideas next year should be, depending how free agency and the draft goes, is to compete seriously, at least for a wild card spot.
Okay.
Or maybe maybe the division is a little more attainable than a wild card these days. But
my only thing is, at what point do we start talking about the Todd Bowles tree if Liam Cohen gets hired as a head coach?
We'll get there. We'll definitely get there. But with that being said, we definitely do have to move on to our regular season awards.
Yep.
Do we just want to start with the so obvious ones so we don't really have to take up too much time?
What's obvious now, though?
I think between the 3 of us, I'm not sure. Offensive player of the year, I think, is obvious.
This performance yesterday, Quinn Johnston, right? One-hand catch, pinned it to his body.
That was my favorite part of Week 18. That was my favorite part of Week 18. I was like, yo, he's got it. He's got it, man.
He trade hands with somebody because I've never seen him do this.
And Herbert Dime, by the way. But
elite pass. I'm joking. It's got to be Saquon Barkley, right?
Well,
it's got to be.
Yeah, I have Saquon. You could maybe make the farthest stretch of an argument for Jamar Chase, who got the Triple Crown in 16 games?
Yeah, that's
mistaken.
Low key.
I could say like Saquon. Saquon would have broke the record if he didn't play another. But like, what would Jamar Chase have done if he got another game? Who knows? Another game where he would have to be competitive all the way. I guess same thing for Saquon. But
yeah, I think
Jamar Chase has a long shot argument. I'd personally go Saquon, and he's literally the thumbnail. So
there it is.
Yeah. Defensive player of the year. I feel like this is a rather weak defensive player of the year race. I feel like it always is when like my pick is a secondary player. So
I wonder if it's the same secondary player I have.
What's yours?
Does his last name start with a B?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, we don't have.
Mine's Patrick Surtain.
See, that was going to be my guy. I have a Brian Branch.
Brian Branch. He's a hell of a player. I don't know if a safety will ever crack one of those.
I know. That's not
He'd
my
be a beast,
Nickel
though.
corner, unfortunately.
Well,
yeah, that's not
Kyle Hamilton will probably crack one of those these days because he's a beast. He is a beast. And definitely, I think if the Ravens defense wasn't didn't have the first half of the year where it was so bad,
Even
he
then,
is
maybe-
certainly in the conversation because wherever their issue was, he just had the line up there and everything was fixed. But wherever he went away from, it got bad.
we have Brandon Stevens over there too. Don't forget. So Cal Hamilton is playing with a handicap. But no, in reality, I think my pick is PS2 as well. I want a corner to get it because I feel like other people besides defensive ends make impacts on the game. So it'd be cool to see a corner get it. But I think PS2 has been so locked down this year.
Yeah, I'm staying at home. I think TJ Watt wins it. I think that
I
I think the voters
Who would have thought?
I think the
Watt.
voters are very partial to D Lyman winning the award. And TJ Watt's impact. I know everyone talked about last year about Myles Garrett's impact outside of this counting numbers. TJ Watt has shown it this year. Team ran the ball to the right side of the.
What is he?
How many do TJ and JJ have put
What's
together?
his double team win rate? What's his pressures looking like? I know he's not top 10 in pressures. No, they're off the back of my hand.
I don't know.
And I know for sure he's not top 10 in double team pass rush win rate, which is the end all be all by my standards.
Double team pass rush.
TJ's a fine pick. He's probably been the best run defender of any outside linebacker in football this year.
For sure.
Still doing it in the pass rush, of course. And, with the way the Steelers line is, you can't necessarily double him. And that's kind of not his fault. But who you choose to double also matters. They kind of just deem Cam Hayward as more of a problem than him. But find out. Double team TJ Watt and leave Cam Hayward single blocked. You'll find out very fast.
Had any lick of grit, it'd be Trey Hendrickson. This guy is fantastic.
He's an absolute beast, and it's a shame that he has no shot because the defense was that bad.
When your defense,
I did want to shout out another name.
Defensive player of the year.
I did want to shout out another name who is on one of the best defenses in the league. Really two people. One was a big name and kind of revived his career. I'm not saying he deserves the award. I'm kind of, I don't know, an all-pro.
Kyle Van Noy.
No.
That's my guy.
No.
That's my guy.
Derwin James. Derwin James was on the best defense in the NFL, and he absolutely revived his career. He was starting to look like a kind of guy who, he finally got over the injuries. Now he just doesn't look the same. He's been baller this year. And Zach Bond. If his name was anything else, I think
his name was Back Zon.
If his name was just
Zal's Barrett.
If his name was Roquan Smith, he walks away with the award. If his name was Fred Warner, he walks away with the award. But because his name is Zach Bond and he's bald and he looks like a mall cop, they're not going to give him the award. But I think he really does deserve some praise. He's absolutely helped transform this Eagles defense.
I love that.
So we got offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year out of the way. I guess if we're in the debating stages, we might just go to MVP. We might as well just go to MVP. We might as well just do it. Oh, while we're at it, let me I want to go through here we go. Our MVP for before the season. I had Josh Allen. Danny picked Jalen Hurts. Chris picked CJ Stroud.
Oh my God, what the
And running through offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, just real quick. I had Jefferson, Chris had Mahomes, and Danny had Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then for defensive player of the year, me and Danny had Micah Parsons, who missed 4 games and still cracked 12.5 sacks, I'm pretty sure. And then Chris had Sauce Gardner. So corner one, just not our guy.
Jesus.
But MVP. Let's start with Danny, because I think we know how this side of the bracket's going. But
yeah, my MVP is Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar Jackson, I think his impact down the stretch has kind of changed my decision. I think the last maybe weeks 14 through 16, I was leading Josh Allen. I think Lamar's play goes beyond the counting stats, and I think this shows in the game against the Browns. He had a bad counting stat game. They put up like 35 points, and it's not just Derrick Henry. When you have a guy like Lamar that can pull the ball, they say the same thing about the Bills. They're like, oh, Josh Allen, he makes things happen that aren't even on the stat sheet. Like Lamar does the same exact thing, but his counting stats are just better. What I will say is Allen has the case because he's carrying a worse offensive roster. How much worse is it? I think it's exaggerated the way people are making it. I don't think the Bills' offensive weapons are that much worse than the Ravens. And that's why I think Lamar deserves MVP. And his counting stats the last couple weeks of the season, they're a little bit better.
Chris, is there anything you want to add on to the Lamarvelous MV3 case? I think you're unmuted, but I'm sure you're spitting the great 8-ball.
And you'll be wrong because I'm actually not, because I have to stay consistent in my talk from years and years ago. Way back when on the stormy nights, I was telling people in 2011 that Derrick Rose was the best player in the NBA, but Dwight Howard was the most valuable player to his team. So I think he should have won the award. Now, I want to say this. I think Lamar Jackson is the best player in the NFL today. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Pat Mahomes included. I think he is the best football player. But this award is not for that. This award is for the most valuable player. And even though I agree 100% with what Danny said, that's been making me mad all year. Outside of Derrick Henry and James Cook comparison, which Derrick Henry wins out, yes, Zay and Bateman have had better years, but nobody was screaming that beforehand. So I do want to say I do think the Ravens offense is better. I don't think it's miles better like they've been saying. But I will say, though, Josh Allen is the most valuable player, in my opinion, to his team outside of Joe Burrow. I think those two guys are the most valuable players in the NFL. And for that reason alone, I think Josh Allen does deserve it. Because I'll say this. His stats are a little less, his counting stats aren't as good as Lamar's, but the record's better. It's just some things that, like some give or take, that I have to give. And although, like I said, I think Ace the best player, I would love to give him Offensive Player of the Year if Saquon Barkley didn't exist or Jamar Chase didn't exist. But I think it's just a year he goes home without these regular season awards and just gets irritated and gets Super Bowl MVP. That's my thought process. But I think Josh Allen gets this MVP award because I think he's the most valuable player.
My only thing is this, like, Zay Flowers, everyone saw the breakout coming. What Lamar does is he elevates. He's a floor raiser. Like the Ravens, if Lamar is playing, will win at least 9 to 10 games. And I think that's kind of speaks volumes. I think Allen is a ceiling raiser.
I completely disagree. If Josh Allen is not on this Buffalo Bills football team, I truly believe we're talking about one of the worst teams in football. Probably the worst. Lamar is a floor raiser. Do not get me wrong. I watched him duke it out with Willie Snead. I watched him duke it out with Nelson
36-year-old
Aguilar.
Deshaun Jackson.
I watched him. I watched him fight it out with Deshaun Jackson. I watched him have to use the corpse and the bad knees of J.K. Dobbins to get football wins. This year specifically, we're heading into this season. I thought Zay Flowers was really good. He had bad moments, but I thought Zay Flowers was tremendous his rookie year, and he was only going to get better. Rashad Bateman, the court will always be out on him, but he had a good season, all things considered. This Bills wide receiver room is sorry, and that's with the addition of Amari Cooper halfway through the year. It's a bad receiver room. It was that going into the season. We're talking Khalil Shakir. You're a wide receiver 1, my man. Great player. Could be wide receiver 2 on a few really good teams. That's not a wide receiver 1. Keon Coleman is an electric personality. He's hilarious. A very relatable guy. He's had maybe like 3 games where like, oh, this is real wide receiver 1 material. And outside of that, he's been in and out of the lineup. And of course, you have Kincaid and Knox, but Kincaid certainly hasn't had a repeat of what he had in year 1. So I don't think the weapons argument is invalid. I've been going back and forth on this all day. I'm kind of just like, bro, the weapons don't make up for what Lamar's doing this year. But then I'm kind of falling back on like, but it is most valuable. And I think Allen really does a lot for this team. So I'm kind of just going to stick to the guns of I picked Allen before the year. I'm going to stick with my guns in one of the best MVP races I've ever seen. But here's where we get woke. You want to know someone who's a real most valuable player?
Don't you start.
You know where I'm going. Justin Herbert.
Oh. Okay, I'm cool.
Justin Herbert. The numbers aren't flying out of the sky. He ain't Lamar with 40-plus touchdowns, 4 picks. But he threw 400 passes this year.
Only threw 3 picks, right?
Only 3 picks. Got into the end zone 20 plus times, or threw that many passes with Ladd. Okay, Ladd McConkey is amazing. But outside of that, it gets super, super grim. What?
Before you finish, Tom, I want to ask. No, finish, and then I'll ask a question afterwards.
Because I'm just gonna point out like Quentin Johnston. I'm sure he's a real great guy, and Jim Harbaugh is a mastermind for getting him serviceable this year. Herbert's had to throw the ball to Uncle Will Dissly. Shout out to him. He's had to throw the ball to Jalen Reagor. He's had to throw the ball to Josh Palmer. And I think this is like his 3rd year now going on throwing the ball to Josh Palmer. I'm sure he's sick of it.
Eagle legend. Don't forget. Not Josh Palmer.
Oh, Reagor, yeah. Eagles legend.
You know what's crazy? Justin Herbert has become more efficient in throwing less interceptions every year after his second year. So his first year,
that 10, second year that 15, is so 10, glorified.
7-3.
That second year that is so glorified as like y'all weren't there for 2021 Herbert. And I'm like, I was, and he was great. Give me this Herbert over him any day of the week. Give me 25 touchdown passes. If he's only going to turn the ball over 3 times, give me 25 touchdown passes. Because that probably means we're also running the ball super well, and we're getting points on the board that way. Back then, no run game. He's just absolutely got like 15 interceptions. That is a pretty decent amount. Like, what's the difference between that? Okay. Look, this is a bad faith argument, but take all the context out aside. You line up that season with this year Baker Mayfield, it's the same thing. But nobody's gonna look back and be like, y'all remember 2024 Baker Mayfield? I mean, maybe I will, but that's kind of just the point I'm getting at. I prefer this Herbert. He's only going to get better. The upgrade he has made using his legs with Greg Roman. Greg Roman changing someone's lives. Who would have ever thought? But I think just not this year. Not this year. He would be 3rd on my ballot, though. He would be 3rd on my ballot. And a name that also would maybe creep close to the top 5 despite the rep he's gotten this year would be Patrick Mahomes. I think we're talking hottest hands going into the playoffs. I think Lamar has the hottest hand heading into the playoffs. I think Mahomes has the 2nd hottest hand, and I think Herbert has the 3rd. And you could argue Herbert over Mahomes because Mahomes is now it's going to be 3 weeks since he played football. Next, Herbert's going to step out this Saturday. So that's just me. But we kind of know who the top 2 are. Moving on. Let's go Defensive Rookie of the Year. I feel like there's 2 names up for debate. I have Quinyon Mitchell.
I have Quinyon Mitchell as well. I think he's been the best corner. He's been a top 5 corner in like pretty much every metric. He might have fallen off a little bit, but he's still been fantastic. I think the fact that he played every game, came in, started day 1 as the opposite boundary corner to Darius Slay, and just made plays. Might not have the counting stats of the
doesn't have a pig
interceptions
to his name.
Yeah, like he doesn't have the counting stat there. I don't believe Sauce Gardner had many rookie year.
When you're the best, you don't get targeted.
That's simple.
When you're the best, you don't get that chance. So
Richard Sherman, they don't throw at him.
Travis Hunter, literally this year, he had 4 interceptions. They're like, that's not a lot. That's tied for 17th in the country, and trust me, he'd have a lot more if they chose to go his way.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Quinyon Mitchell is the clear pick here. There is another option out in LA.
Jared Verse he's had a phenomenal season.
Yeah. So if Chris were to go the option out in LA, Verse has made a non-existent defense. Him and Fisk together have made non-existent defense something with some substance.
Do the Rams and the Eagles have like the top 4 picks at this award?
Yeah, Verse and Fisk been crazy.
Verse, Fisk, DeJean, and Mitchell. Is DeJean a top 4 candidate at this rate?
He might be.
That might be a little much, but I'm not sure.
Peyton Wilson should be up there, top 5.
Do we all have Quinyon Mitchell for Defensive Rookie of the Year?
Yes, we do. But I do want to give some love to my demon, Nate Wiggins, with his first pick being the pick 6. Now, he did catch it against Bailey Zapped, but
What was that going on, dude? That pick meant so much too. Like, if he didn't do that, the game would be 14-10 in the fourth quarter.
And I hate that.
So
Tell my boy Nate.
y'all picked Nate Wiggins. I picked Jared Verse.
Oh yeah, Nate was my guy. I was picking him
for the
regardless. I
choice.
knew I was picking him regardless. Yeah.
And then let's move on to the other one. Offensive Rookie of the Year. Before the season, I picked Marvin Harrison Jr. Chris picked Malik Neighbors, who, like, with maybe a full season, you're probably cooking. And then Danny picked Caleb Williams. And somehow none of these guys are, like, a top 3 answer. Well,
Crazy part.
I think Neighbors is. No, let's get woke. Neighbors is a valid candidate. He's a more valid candidate for Offensive Rookie of the Year than Bo Nix. Not even hating.
I'd like to talk about it. Yes.
Not even hating. I'm just woke.
That's all.
But I'm sure I know where Chris is going, so I'll let him take the floor first.
And if you thought I was going with the Rasheed Ali from the Baltimore Ravens, you were correct. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go.
I do want to say
This other woke nonsense.
Bro, it's crazy to me that Lad McConkey might be wide receiver 3 in this class and Marvin Harris is wide receiver 4. When Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas is this, I do want to say that is insane to me. But my offensive rookie of the year is none other than Malik Neighbors. I want to say Jane Daniels so baggy. Jane Daniels has been going crazy. But when Malik Neighbors was catching footballs for me, my mom, and my sister at quarterback, and 113 of them, and he's just like making electric plays. Now, Jane Daniels been electric too, but it's like those two are my picks, and I'm going to lean toward Malik Neighbors because I feel like he was just more outstanding. I think Jane Daniels might have been better, but I think Neighbors was more outstanding. So I'll give it to Neighbors.
I think that's good logic. Because with an award like this, and maybe you could take this into Offensive Player of the Year, and that's where Jamar Chase's argument comes from. But when you look at Offensive Rookie of the Year, team situation, I think, can matter. Team results should not matter. Jaden Daniels making the play. You can make an argument for Daniels without bringing up a single thing about the fact that he's heading into the postseason. So I like that you pick Neighbors because if we want to talk who is the best offensive rookie this year, Malik Neighbors 100% has an argument. Me personally, mine's kind of been the same since halfway through the year. I'm going to pick the guy that's going to be first team All-Pro. I'm going to pick Brock Bowers. Was some of the only sign of life.
He was special.
One of the only dudes in the Vegas building with a pulse this season. And while Neighbors did break the rookie receptions record, he got it broken right back about 3 hours later when Bowers decided to one-up him. So just two absolutely amazing players. But for Brock Bowers' performance, for being the best tight end in the NFL, not only that, one of the historic tight end seasons by any remark, broke Mike Ditka's rookie records. He's considered an all-time great tight end. You know, a lot of people like to talk about the Gonzalez, the Gronks, the Kelseys of the world, but like before that was he was Mike the guy. Hurt. He invented the receiving tight end position. So Bowers did a hell of a job. I like that someone else is kind of on the same wavelength than I am here. Danny, what are you thinking?
I like Brock Bowers as my offensive rookie of the year. But I do want to give a shout out to somebody who nobody's really mentioned and nobody's probably have even on their radar.
His name Bucky Irvin. Yes. Bucky
Irvin had a hell of a season. I love that.
And that's without having a full workload until like November. He was getting less than 10 carries a game until November, and he still had 1,500 yards, which is
Chicago kid too.
Insane. He is a playmaker. And he makes his Tampa Bay Buccaneers team a playoff threat when it comes to this. Without Chris Godwin, this team still has life in them, and they won. They're the 3 seed after almost not making the playoffs, after losing Mike Evans, after losing Chris Godwin, after having banged up injuries on the defense. This team, shout out to Mr. Bowles because this team just made it happen, and I think Bucky Irving is the reason. Like. He gave the offense life.
Yeah, especially when Evans went down, Godwin was down for the season. They went to Irvin. Well, let's go to Coach of the Year. I already said who my Coach of the Year was last week. Even before the Sunday Night Football game, it's Kevin O'Connell. He won 14 games with just fooling around, having fun. So That's my pick. Other valuable picks from my end would be Jim Harbaugh, and Andy Reid.
Nice. Yeah, I'm going O'Connell too, but my close second, and I know record probably won't say it, but it's kind of what Dame's just talking about. Todd Bowles gets a vote from me.
I love
Because I
that.
think after losing Godwin and Evans for the time he did, and losing Godwin for the full season, McMillan, great rookie receiver. He's a rookie, right? Am I tripping? Jalen McMillan's a
Yeah.
rookie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Rookie.
He was making he's made plays all year, and obviously Todd Bowles not making the plays for him. But I think just as a team as a whole, this team stayed together enough to be able to make the playoffs after missing valuable pieces for some time together and apart. So yeah, I think O'Connell gets it because none of us. I don't think the Vikings even saw them winning 14 games. But I think Bowles it would be a close second.
Yeah, I'm gonna go my top 3 actually. It's KOC,
Yeah, that's what I did. So
Dan Quinn, and then it is Jim Harbaugh.
I like the Dan Quinn love. We don't give him especially as a guy who used to be a head coach, then was demoted back to a DC on a defense that went out very, very sad, and it was probably
Horribly
like
sad.
horror.
Maybe that's
And
more,
then he
maybe
got
that's more
hired
impressive.
again to a situation that wasn't great, and it looked great. So he, as Saquon and Derrick Henry have revived the running back market, he revived the former head coach market. I think that's one way to look at it. Guys, like not saying Mike Vrabel didn't have a chance before, but now you're willing to go back to a Mike Vrabel. You're willing to go back to guys who have been fired before, if they got a vision. You know,
agreed. I think Harbaugh. I think Harbaugh wins it if the Vikings don't win 14 games.
Yeah, I mean 11 games with that team that just went 5-12. If he got, he would probably have to actually no. He might have to. I think he would have to get the same amount of wins to get the same argument.
What I have to say is, when you're looking at the MVP, you have to talk about if you take them off the team, how many games do they win?
I don't want to imagine either team without their respective head coaches. That would get ugly.
I will say that Harbaugh, you can see and visualize the immediate impact from his signing.
Yeah, like the jump. Oh, I guess it's also not fair to like O'Connell because like Mike or Zimmer was fine. Connell's just better, and like Harbaugh is filling in for Brandon Staley, so I could fill in for Brandon Staley better. Well, let's move on to comeback player of the year, which is there's a lot of good candidates. I'm going to preface this. I don't vote comeback player of the year like the NFL. This is not most improved. I'm not picking Sam Darnold. He didn't come back from anything. He was just bad. That being said, I'm picking Joe Burrow.
It's got to be Burrow. Why wouldn't it be?
I think when you put in severity of injuries and maybe injury history into it, like I have, Dobbins is on my ballot. I mean, years of brutal injuries, Achilles, ACLs, just the worst thing you can get for a running back. Came back in. He wasn't like spectacular. He wasn't like 1,500 yards running the league, but
looked good though.
But damn it, he was the pulse of the Chargers offense, especially to start the year, where like we didn't know what we were getting out of Lad. Like I thought that would be solid. Maybe have like a Zay Flowers-esque rookie year. This was entirely different, but he's just someone I wanted to give credit for. But Burrow being a quarterback, injuring a ligament in the throwing hand, and coming back and leading the league in passing yards. Got to give credit where it's due. I got Mr. Burrow. So Bengals fans, you walk out of here with something. Leaving here with something. Triple crown, passing yards leader, successful season, I say.
And biggest what ifs, Bengals got it.
Man.
If was the fifth, they would be literally drunk out of their minds. I would say Joe Burrow is the pick, I think. And I'm not even hating on Joe Burrow. Like, obviously, he's the pick. But Ravens legend J.K. Dobbins, I do want to show some love, too, because his knee broke in half. I watched it. And his knee broke in half while he was a Raven, by the way. Then he came back, broke in half again. And he had a really, really good season. I know he missed a little bit of time throughout the year, but I want to shout out J.K. Dobbins. But I think Joe Burrow, as you said, for the reason you said alone, he led the league in passing yards after tearing ligament in his throwing arm. That's OD. So it'd
be hilarious if we gave the comeback player of the year award to a player who still missed time this year because of injury.
Right. That would
but still, I think he's a worthy candidate, I guess you could say. I mean, if we want to do that, like in a most improved style, screw it, Jamar Chase. Like, you know, I'm trying to
Nick Herbig, most improved.
I'm trying to think of some other, like Tim Patrick would be like another one, 2 ACLs, and then I really can't. Can Saquon Barkley count? Well, I guess his last year in New York wasn't necessarily bad. It just wasn't 2,000 yards. Danny, do you have Burrow as well? Yeah, you said you have Burrow. So
Yeah, I have Burrow. It's no way he loses.
yeah, and then before the season, just to round out some of those, comeback player of the year, me and Danny had Rodgers. Chris had Cousins. That went about as well for all of us as you'd think it did. Coach of the year, y'all had Raheem Morris. Isn't like a bad one. He just didn't crack playoffs, but he had a good. I had Doug Peterson. Y'all are a lot better off than me.
And he made the worst decision I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Either you bench either you bench Cousins early and let Penix try to figure it out.
Don't let Penix try to get you to the playoffs.
You're in a race. 4 games left. All right, because enough of this.
Here
you go.
And before we get out of here, I did want to state our Super Bowl picks before the playoffs started. Danny had the Texans beating the Eagles. Chris had the Ravens beating the Lions. Very possible. Danny's is technically possible. I don't even have another team. I just wrote Chiefs.
Technically possible.
Texans beating the Eagles. That's technically, it's not going to happen, but it
Texans
could
make
happen.
it out of the first weekend. Oh, we're in trouble.
I donate Diggs. I donate Stephon Diggs my ACL. Danny hands over his freshly new ACL right over to Tank Dell. They go win the Super Bowl.
Tank Dell need a couple of Danny's
man.
Just take it from like his mid quad down. There we go.
They're so good if they had like health.
Literally,
that's a lot of teams.
I didn't get it. Daniel Hunter and Will Anderson will be glossed over this year because Texas probably won't do as much, but they were special. I do want to say.
Yeah, when they were on the field together, they caused the most havoc in the NFL. Wasn't even close. Yeah, but no, like for mine, like it's I don't have another team written. It's just Super Bowl Chiefs.
That's close enough.
Wait, I think you
send the NFC All-Star team, dude.
I think you chose
like,
Niners, if I'm remembering correctly.
No, you had Eagles.
No, you.
Oh, me. Yeah. I said Niners. Bad
I think you should run it back. I think it was, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, bad pick.
All their players' legs exploded.
But not even the worst take. They had the worst injuries in the NFL.
Yeah, I had them as the 1 seed. All my other division winners were right, though.
I was correct, though. Watching Fatso Debo Samuel in the preseason, we were right. He's washed.
We didn't do enough when we said 50 receivers better. We need to think. Are there 50 receivers worse?
Do you want to know something funny? When Debo Samuel was putting on that white, yellow, and blue next year, right next to Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh, and he revives his career, then what?
Well, yeah, sharing the backfield with J.K. Dobbins.
Oh no!
He won't be catching footballs. That brother is not better than Quentin Johnston these days.
Yo,
don't let yesterday fool
shout out to you.
He has one arm.
He looks awesome.
If you want to line it up, if we want to hold up, let me go to the real app because I know you're able to do this.
I will not.
We're comparing stats.
Hey, do y'all know Marvin Harrison Jr. was probably the 4th best rookie wide receiver this year?
Yeah, but and all things considered, like
he's had a solid year.
Not bad.
Year was solid. Yeah, I think he was solid.
Okay, Debo had more yards per game.
Yeah,
that's scrimmage yards per game. Oh, I hate that reel does this. Okay,
yeah.
Here we go. Here are the receiving stats. Here we go.
No.
Quentin Johnston had more receiving yards per game. No. Obviously, more total receiving yards, more receiving touchdowns, more targets a game, more receptions a game.
That means he's playing buddy ball. That doesn't count anymore.
Debo Samuel is actually worse than Quentin Johnston. Wow. This is a 1-of-1 world we live in.
Also, when the receiver falls off, he only goes to 2 places.
Yeah, get very familiar with
Jesus.
With
he's a Buffalo Raven. He's a Baltimore
Yeah,
Raven, unfortunately.
It is so obvious.
I smell it, dude.
Sick when he's taking touches from Derrick Henry. You're gonna know how I felt when I had
No.
Christian McCaffrey on my fantasy team. I see Debo Samuel lining up at the goal line. Get away.
The difference is we'll have Pat Ricard blocking him, so then we'll have 300-pound people in the back. Derek, Patrick, and Debo. Nice.
Y'all gonna use Debo as a pull-in fullback at this rate.
Right tackle one. Mark Andrews was left tackle one for the beginning of the year. Debo comes in, plays right tackle. Everything's solid.
Yeah, he gotta lose some weight before he goes to wherever we're going. But that's everything we have for you guys today. Super long episode. We hope you guys, of course, enjoyed it. Remember, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Audio platform users, leave a like, download the episode, 5-star review, all the good things. From AP New Freezer, Coach by Amigos, DC Comics. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys later this week to talk some playoff football.